This is Andrew for The Chosen Prime with a quick video review of Planet X Hephaestus. Hephaestus is a convention-exclusive redeco of Planet X's version of Fall of Cybertron Grimlock, Vulcan. The name Vulcan is the Roman god of fire, blacksmithing, and volcanoes, and Hephaestus is the Greek equivalent of that mythological character, so hence why he's called Hephaestus. The overall deco is based off of Fireblast Grimlock, or magma kind of volcano Grimlock, which has been a version of the character and kind of paint deco from Transformers Animated, and there actually is a Japanese version of the original Fall of Cybertron Grimlock, the Voyager class from Japan, that uses this deco. And so Planet X here has taken that really kind of striking deco and put it on their version, their upgraded version here of Vulcan, now called Hephaestus. He does come in his own unique box here with a red overall kind of color scheme. He does come packaged in a bubble, just like what Vulcan did. He gets his own unique instructions here for Hephaestus, as well as a collector's card. You can see that his weapons here are kind of this golden yellow versus the orange, which I'll show off against the original Vulcan here in a little bit. But let's go ahead and take a look at some details here for Hephaestus. Taking a closer look here at Hephaestus, you can see that he's got multiple different colors of red as far as his plastic. He's got this brighter red for his arms, but a darker, warmer red for his hands, his head, his shoulder, and legs and stuff like that. He, of course, has this bright neon green pieces for his chest, his light piping, as well as his shoulders. It almost practically glows in person. It's just really, really bright. And it's a different color here than the yellow that they've used for his weapon, his sword and shield, and so they've actually kind of added a little more variance overall to him. They do have some paint detail here on the chest to kind of have that kind of Fireblast, kind of lava look for Grimlock here. So they've done some nice detailing there, and overall it's a really cool looking deco and version of that Fireblast kind of look here, applied to their really excellent version of Vulcan. Nice paint detail on the legs, the green, the gold, the black, just all kind of works all as a really cohesive kind of look. His head, as far as articulation, is the same as Vulcan. His head is on a ball joint, so you get a lot of movement there. Shoulders have a rotation joint there. They're actually on a double hinge, so they can lower and raise. Same thing with this panel. It can move up and out of the way if you'd like. His bicep swivel, double jointed arm in a way. So he's got a piece here that rotates, as well as a standard kind of elbow. His hand can rotate. It's a standard kind of one pin going through the knuckle, so he can't open up. There is a channel in the hand here that you can take any of the weapons, and it slides into place, so he holds both the sword and the shield very securely. It's just a matter of just getting it to kind of slide into that channel, and it can rotate around. The sword, actually, it's got a little piece here with the hilt. You just pop this open on the hinge here and it slides out. So it's a nice secure connection that rotates around and crafts around his hand. He's got a waist rotation here. The backpack does not peg in, but it sits flat most of the time, but it doesn't peg in, so you can rotate the legs. So there's a reason they don't have it peg in, and it's fairly clean overall here at the back. As far as his legs, he does have universal hips. They can move in and out. Thigh swivel. He's got a ratcheted knees. So he's got a robot knee here, but then he's got a hidden kind of ratchet lower into the knee as part of transformation. So you have options as kind of posing his legs here. These panels can move up and down just a little bit. As far as foot articulation, it is one nice heel, so he's got a lot of support. He does have this little kind of heel piece here for the toe, but the toe is actually on a hinge that can move up and down, but also a ball joint. So you can have him sit kind of flat-footed and have that ankle articulation to get him to have different poses. And so they've really kind of solved the problem with the original Fall of Cybertron Grimlock here to give him, so he's got some posability options. You can take his weapons and store them on his back. There's a kind of a single peg here that matches a peg hole on his back. In addition, you can take the sword, and there's a peg hole here that matches the peg on the sword, and so you can take it and peg the sword into the shield, and then peg the shield into the back, and you can store his weapons that way if you like. And just overall, it's a really cool looking version here of Fall of Cybertron Grimlock in this lava deco. So let's go ahead and I'll transform him into his dinosaur mode. To Transform Hephaestus. We need to remove his weapons. So undo this hinge and pull this sword out. And just lift the shield up and put those to the side. I recommend coming to the legs, starting with the legs, to come to the back here and untab and loosen these panels here from the back of the legs. Each one of these is slightly different. They each make half of the tail, and they both have separate hinges, but we need to get them out of the way. And so ratchet the leg forward like this, and then using this hinge, move this tail piece to the inner front of the leg. And you may need to kind of fold it to get clearance, but you want to be able to kind of pull it forward and through like this. And this arm here is meant to kind of flex, so you can kind of get clearance to get it around the knee. So bend the knee, and on this hinge, just kind of bring this piece forward on both halves here. Come to the toes, push these heel spurs in, and we want to push the heels here back into the back side of the leg and revealing a panel here. And so we want to just kind of sandwich the toe here backwards so that this panel fits out flush like this, so in filling this kind of gap. Come to the other heel and rotate it in, again revealing this panel. And it can be a bit tricky to get this kind of showing up so that they're both forward. So just kind of work at it as you're going. We want to peg the legs together, the two legs together here. And then the way the ratchets are going to eventually end up, you can see they're a bit higher right now. We want to push them as far down as they will go. So we want to ratchet, and so that these parts are, this halves are as high up, and both of the ratchets are kind of put as low as they can be. We can come to the tail pieces here and unfurl them, and you can see there's two different halves of the tail. And we'll put them together here in a moment, but you can see that you can just unfurl both sides right there. Come to the upper arms here. These panels around the hands will untab, and they will hinge down, closing around and hiding the robot mode hand. Rotate at the bicep to make the dinosaur leg. Same thing for the other side. Just go ahead and hinge those two halves, re-sandwiching around the hand and then rotating at the bicep. We will want the arms kind of facing forward down his chest like this. We can take the chest, and it actually untabs from his back, and it'll hinge downward and then retab lower. And it can be kind of tricky to get it so that it does line up flush, but this panel here will line up flush with the backpack here. Come to the overall backpack back here. There's a hidden rotation joint. So grab the entire piece and rotate it. And it's kind of hidden here underneath the robot mode head. But that's how you want to get it so the robot mode head is facing upwards. Come to this little panel here. This piece here will hinge backwards on a pivot hinge here. And there's two tabs that release the kind of dinosaur mode head. Come to this panel, make sure that this is kind of folded outwards or else you kind of get stuck, and then lift the entire head out through these two arm kind of chest pieces, and then rotate this all forward, covering the robot mode head, and then tabbing this together again. Right now this is loose, but once we get the legs kind of folded in on themselves, it'll all tab everything in securely. Underneath the dinosaur mode head is a panel that will fold down, filling in the neck, and then this piece here will double hinge up and actually fit into that slot as well, kind of fully making the dinosaur neck area. The legs, these two pieces here, you see these two kind of slots match tabs here on the chest pieces, and we want to fold over and tab those two onto those two tabs, and then this panel will fold down and its two tabs will lock the legs into place. And there's also tabs here on these chest panels that match peg holes in the bottom of the legs and get so that those are tabbed into each other. Come to the tail back here. This is the top of the tail, this is the bottom of the tail, and so there's multiple hinges, so we want to rotate up so that this is the top, and then there's a double hinge here that you want to kind of move it over, and then there's tabs and pegs across the tail, the two halves here that we want to tab together. And it can be a bit tricky getting them all lined up, but once we do, the two halves will stay together very securely. It's just a matter of kind of getting them all lined up all at once. Make sure that they're all good. Come to the dinosaur mode arms here and move them outwards, lifting up the claw. The legs actually have a specific kind of joint built for the dinosaur mode. It's the hinge is kind of hidden here. It's this darker hinge. We want to move the leg forward there. So again, it's this hinge. It's this darker one. You can kind of see. It's a matter of just getting it so that that part pivots out first, and then moving the toes in. And there is Hephaestus in his dinosaur mode. So we'll take a look at some detail for him. Taking a look here at his detail in T-Rex mode, you can see that the reds, greens, and blacks make a nice cohesive dinosaur mode here throughout. But you get still nice details with the green, neon green, gold here for his robot arms as well as the tip of his tail. You've got his upper snout here, has a silver bits of paint. All of this homaging that Fireblast Grimlock that was the Japan exclusive. And overall, just look, he looks really, really nice here in his T-Rex mode. Same great details throughout, very solid, no real gaps or hollow bits like what the Voyager figure had. As far as articulation, he does have a lot of emotive bits here in his head, so his head can rotate here on this joint. It can also hinge forward and up. And in addition to that, there's actually, if you see here, this piece can move inward and outward, which lets him tilt his head, so you can have him tilt his head side to side as well. You get bits and pieces there, so you have a whole lot of range for that part of his head. His jaw does open. You can see the nice painted silver teeth. He does have in the middle of his mouth here, kind of his flamethrower, if you want. His eyes are kind of all this clear, like clear green. Same thing with this bit on the snout here. They could accept a faction symbol. Just really, really cool looking. His hands are on a hinge and kind of a spinning peg. The elbow can curl more than 90 degrees, and then the two upper claws here are on just kind of this pivoting hinge, so you can't have them open. His legs are the same kind of motions as his original robot mode shoulders, so he can rotate them forward and back. He's got the bicep swivel here. He's got the same kind of, he's got an extra because we moved these parts down to his hand. He actually has another bit of ankle articulation there, so you can get him to stand fairly securely, and you have a lot of play as far as how he goes side to side. These panels here can move up if you want to have them kind of be a little bit skinnier. It's kind of a personal preference on how you want to kind of have him be, kind of how the way he looks, if you want to kind of have a bit longer legs. His tail is articulated. It's got several different joints. You can kind of bend it to get some kind of curve to it. You do have a little bit of play up and down with the way these little swing arms worked. And then on the back here, he's got these little panels with painted detail, almost kind of like the jet exhaust that made him when he was in running mode, when he was in T-Rex mode from the game. Just really, really cool, emotive version of Grimlock here. He's very well weighted, so he can balance himself very well. You have a lot of different options, and the stiff joints can hold him and his tail up. So, you know, very, very excellent release here again from Planet X. They've kind of made an excellent version here of Fall of Cybertron Grimlock, and here definitely the Rage version of Fireblast Grimlock here. So let's take a look at some comparisons for this guy. Robot mode comparisons. If you've never been able to kind of get hands-on with a Vulcan from Planet X, here you can see the size difference with the original Voyager class version of Fall of Cybertron Grimlock. This one does have an upgraded head, but it's the original sword and shield. And you can see overall the proportions have gotten fixed. The sword is much larger, the shield is much larger. Overall, this looks like what the game model should have been versus this one, of course, and you have limited posability, overall more loose. I can barely get my my official Grimlock here to stand. It's just kind of categorically just a better version of Fall of Cybertron Grimlock here with Vulcan and Hephaestus. And it's just crazy how much larger this version is than the official one. T-Rex comparisons between the two. Again, you can see the size difference, and overall it's kind of more accuracy difference between the two, where you have the articulated tail versus this kind of lump. Better, because overall this figure can't even really move, let alone pose. His mouth is only opens when you use the kind of light up gimmick, whereas you have the different options with Hephaestus here. And just, you know, overall just what you had always hoped that this version of Fall of Cybertron Grimlock would look like, and just really, really great version here from Planet X versus the official here from Hasbro. Here's another quick comparison. This is with Deluxe Class Fall of Cybertron Shockwave, and you can see just how much larger Planet X's offering is than the official kind of product is, how much more detailed and just how much larger this version of Grimlock is, and then Shockwave here. And here's a quick comparison of their alternate modes, so just how large and kind of beastly Hephaestus is here compared to the Deluxe Shockwave from Fall of Cybertron. Robot mode comparison between the original Vulcan and Hephaestus. You can see that this one is an excellent version of Fall of Cybertron Grimlock, and then they've really given this kind of Hephaestus here, this Fireblast version, just a whole other different deco. They put a lot more effort into the paint as far as different colors of plastic and paint. They're both excellent versions of the Fall of Cybertron Grimlock, but Hephaestus here on the right just looks meaner. He looks like he's almost like a rage mode version of Grimlock overall. And it's really cool to have both of these figures, but Hephaestus just really stands out in this really unique Fireblast deco. T-Rex mode comparisons between the two. You can see definitely how they're all the same overall design, but the reds, blacks, and greens of Hephaestus on the right kind of just stand out a little bit more, definitely with the green light piping in the eyes. Just looks kind of ominous. And then the red overall just looks like it's a raged version of Grimlock here. Compared to the kind of the official colors from Fall of Cybertron. I think both of them are obviously excellent figures. They have the same great posability, same great detail as what you would hope with an updated version of Fall of Cybertron Grimlock. And I think both of them would look really good on a shelf. And I think specifically Hephaestus here with this unique color scheme just is really striking here in his Dino mode. Some final thoughts here on Planet X Hephaestus. They're a convention exclusive redeco of their Vulcan figure, their updated version of Fall of Cybertron Grimlock. This Fireblast kind of deco of Grimlock here is just really striking in person. The lava fire reds, the darker bits of black, the paint detailing, the green and the yellow. It's an amazing looking kind of just figure overall. Really striking deco. And then you get the great detail and posability that you got with Vulcan here done in this newer convention exclusive color set. It's a cool looking update here on Fall of Cybertron Grimlock. Of course, this is a convention exclusive. The Chosen Prime will have it at their booth at TFCon, available for purchase. If there happen to be any left over after the show, we will put them on the site. In addition, Chosen Prime will also have the original release of Vulcan here. If you want to get the original colors that match the game, it will also be available. So if you want to pick up a Hephaestus or Vulcan, come stop by the Chosen Prime booth at TFCon. So take care.